Do you find yourself digitally distracted? This is a huge problem that we all face, and unfortunately, the constant use of our smartphones is causing us to lose focus on the things that matter most. Well, there is one product that can help, and that's a silent pocket Faraday sleeve, which will block all wireless signal, keeping you less distracted. Pick up your own Faraday sleeve at silentpocket.com and take 15% off your order right now using discount code SharedSecurity at checkout. Joining me on the show is Tyler Hudak, Incident Response Practice Lead at TrustedSec. Welcome to the show, Tyler.
All right, thank you. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, now you and I go way back, and I actually give you credit for getting me into pen testing when we used to work together at that large Cleveland bank many years ago.
Yeah, a long time ago.
Yes.
I remember that was actually one of the first places where I actually was doing pen testing. It wasn't, part of our regular duties. And you have to remember back then, pen testing internally was pretty unheard of. So yeah, I remember bringing you into, starting to do that and all that fun stuff.
Yes, it was. And I believe I was hired as the ArcSite administrator, and I ended up replacing you.
Yep.
You ended up doing more pen testing. So
yep, exactly. So yeah, from the bank, I left there and went into consulting to do pen testing full time. And, yeah, that was a long time ago thinking back.
Yeah. It's crazy to think about that. So kind of over the years, how did you end up getting into incident response, and then what led you to become the lead at TrustedSec?
Yeah, so I've been in security for over 20 years now, and I kind of started off as a network and Unix analyst. Basically, I was brought into my first job because they wanted somebody to do security on Unix systems and the network, but they wanted somebody who already knew how to do Unix and could learn the network. And I was a Unix admin prior to that, so I kind of fit that bill. And I got really lucky at that point doing that because, again, 20 years ago, a corporation having their own security department was pretty unheard of. You had to kind of be in military or law enforcement to get into InfoSec. I got really lucky. From there, I just kind of went through doing a number of different things, doing, pen testing, network analysis, all these different things. But throughout that whole time, I really enjoyed doing, reverse engineering malware analysis, which naturally led into incident response. And the reverse engineering and malware analysis that I could do, that I kind of taught myself over the years, allowed me to get my first, true, full-time IR job at an organization. And from there, I just kind of naturally just fell into doing it, going into forensics, IR, all those skills between, malware analysis, IR, and forensics. They all have their own different skill sets, but they all overlap. So, yeah, that got me my IR experience. With that, getting the job at TrustedSec, honestly, it was just kind of lucky. Dave Kennedy and I have known each other for years, like you.
Mm-hmm.
We go pretty far back. Northeast Ohio is a really small community for information security, so everybody kind of knows everybody else. And it just turned out that he was looking for somebody to lead the IR team. He knew that I was doing IR, that at that point in time, I was leading a IR team for another organization, and things just worked out where, I was able to come over, and, the rest has been history. I've been at TrustedSec for about 2.5 years now.
That's awesome. Yeah. I love how it all works out. And to your point about the Cleveland security community, it is small, and it's actually, I think it's one of the best communities in the country, honestly.
Oh yeah. I agree.
Great community of people, for sure. So for many of our listeners, it's just inevitable, right? We're going to make a mistake, click a phishing link, find out we have ransomware on our computer, or give away personal data to an attacker through like a social engineering or phishing scam. So what's the first thing that we should do, or better yet, what shouldn't we do in a situation where we know we've been hacked?
Oh yeah. And the first thing I want to say is, this happens to everybody. I don't care how long you've been in the industry, how experienced you are. Everybody, clicks on that link or, accidentally downloads malware. I've done it. I know security professionals who have more experience than I do who still fall for that one or two phishing emails that look really really good. So it happens to everybody. The first thing that I would say that you don't do is you don't panic. That is the worst thing that could happen to anybody in during an incident, because once you start panicking, you make mistakes. You have knee jerk reactions, which actually end up causing more damage in the long run. I don't know how many incidents I've worked over my career, but this is the one thing that I would always say that you can't do is panic. I've seen everybody from low level first year help desk people all the way up to CEOs panic, and part of the job is just kind of keeping them calm, making sure they know look, everything is going to be okay, we'll get through this, and then you start moving forward. After that, it really depends on what the situation is. You kind of have to take stock really really quickly to determine what's going on. If you got hit with ransomware, there's a certain process that you're going to follow. If you gave your credentials to, let's say, like a phishing attack, there's something else you're going to do. So you want to kind of take that step back and figure out what your next steps are going to be.
And now a word from our sponsor, Edgewise Networks. The biggest problem in security that remains unsolved are flat networks in cloud and data centers, with unprotected attack paths that allow threats to move laterally to cause data breaches. But microsegmentation using network addresses is complicated and takes too much time. But there's a better approach: Edgewise Zero Trust Auto Segmentation. Edgewise is impossibly simple microsegmentation, delivering results immediately with a security outcome that's provable. At the core of Edgewise Auto Segmentation is Zero Trust Identity, which allows workloads to communicate only after their software identity has been verified. Malicious or unimproved software is no longer allowed to communicate. Identity-based protection provides more coverage with fewer policies to make Edgewise simple to deploy and manage. No changes to the application or network are required. One solution protects virtual machines and containers in the cloud and on-premises. To stop lateral threat movement and prevent breaches, visit edgewise.net for a demo and to see results within minutes.
Yeah, so speaking of ransomware, just because that seems to be a huge topic right now, and in a huge area of people are getting hacked through ransomware. What is your advice for if someone gets ransomware on their computer?
The first thing that you want to do is what we call containment. You want to make sure that doesn't spread any farther. And with ransomware, unfortunately, when you start getting those notifications that ransomware is on your system, it's usually too late. The attackers, they're pretty smart. They're not going to show you those things until they've encrypted a lot of your drive. But with that being said, you want to do what's called containment. And so you want to unplug your system from the network to make sure it can't spread over the network if you have anything else there. You may even want to shut your system down. If you catch it early enough, that might prevent the encryption from continuing on, and you may be able to restore some files. After that, you want to figure out what hit you. Was it what type of ransomware was it, and from there you may be able to determine if there's a way that you can decrypt your files or not. Hopefully, with ransomware, you get hit with something that's old or something that can be decrypted easily, where you don't have to pay the ransom, or that you have backups in place. Unfortunately, most people and most organizations, they don't have backups available for everything, and so you may have to be taking a hard look at what data was encrypted and determine whether or not it's worth you looking at potentially paying the ransom, or to just understanding that you've lost those files. That being said, I would never recommend to anybody to pay a ransom. We get asked that all the time, and our recommendation is always to never do it. The thing you have to remember is you're dealing with criminals. There's no guarantee that you're going to pay the ransom and they're going to give you something to get your files back. And I have yet to be on a incident where the client has paid the ransom and they get all their files back. The programs that attackers give you to decrypt your files, they're not really well written, and so more often than not, they'll decrypt probably about 75 to 90% of the files. But of course, those last 25 to 10% of the files that they don't encrypt are, of course, going to be the ones that you need or the ones that you want the most, and you really have nowhere to go after that. Those files are just completely gone.
So what I'm hearing is regular backups sounds like an important mitigation for ransomware, right?
Oh, absolutely. You want to make sure that your critical files are backed up, or the files that you want to save. Looking even at my home PC. I've got documents on here. I've got images on here that I don't want to lose. So I back them up. There are so many different ways that you can do that, from even just getting like a Google Drive or Dropbox or something like that and uploading them every once in a while, to getting a commercial backup system that you can have going to like a drive on your network, or like an external USB drive, or something like that. The thing to remember too with your backups is that if it's something that's connected directly to your computer, or it's on like a share on your network or something like that, then the ransomware may actually go out and encrypt those as well. So when possible, you want to try to keep those kind of offline as they were, and only connect them when you're backing them up or when you need to restore.
Yeah, that's really good advice. So kind of taking a step outside of ransomware, so same advice you'd have is obviously don't panic. If we gave away our information through like a telephone, a social engineering scam, or phishing attack?
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, again, those happen all the time. The big thing to remember with those, for like a phishing attack, or if somebody calls you and you give out your password or something like that, you want to change your password immediately, wherever that happened. If it was like your bank, go onto the bank, change your password. You may even want to call the bank and let them know what happened to, because a lot of banks will have like some fraud monitoring that they can kind of add on, or watch pretty closely your account to make sure nobody else has gotten on, or anything like that. Any other details that you've given out, it's going to really depend on what those are. I'm pretty sure that most everybody nowadays has free credit monitoring from all the breaches that are going on. But if not, it may not be a bad idea to turn on that monitoring on all the credit bureaus, just to make sure nobody's opening up accounts in your name, things like that.
Yeah. So, I think you covered a lot of good defensive practices. Is there anything else that you would recommend that our listeners do to help prevent from being hacked?
Oh yeah, I mean, there's so many things that you can do, and fortunately, a lot of these things are really simple to do. One of the biggest things that I would recommend is turning on multi-factor authentication for any site that you have access to. Multi-factor authentication are those things where you log into a site and it sends you a text message, or you have to enter in another code. You can turn those on for almost every site now. Your email, your banks, things like that. Definitely turn those on, because even if you get hit with a phishing attack and you give out your credentials, that makes it just that much more harder for attackers to get in. And while it's not a foolproof solution, because nothing is foolproof, I have worked incidents where attackers have gotten around multi-factor authentication. It's really, really difficult to do, and I would say the majority of phishing attacks or scams are going to fail once they hit that. Outside of that, make sure your systems are updated. I'm sure most people are on Windows. Windows Update, and make sure that's turned on. Make sure that it's going out and it's updating everything. And not only that, you have to remember that Windows Update is only going to update your Windows operating system, and maybe things like Office. If you have other tools on your system, like other browsers like Chrome or Firefox or something like that, make sure that those get updated as well, because Windows Update isn't going to do that for you. And then finally, one of the biggest things that I can say is, I know antivirus tends to get a bad rap in the industry, and it does fail. Let's face it, it's not, again, it's not the end all be all of security, but you still want to have something on your system to detect that low hanging fruit. I would say if you're on Windows Defender is free. It comes with Windows. It's actually really, really good. And so there's really no excuse for anybody not to have that turned on, and making sure that that gets updated. And it will automatically scan your site, or I'm sorry, your system, and it does a pretty good job. I think it was rated one of the best antiviruses on the market last year, so it's doing really well.
Awesome. All right. Well, how can our listeners find out more about you and TrustedSec?
Sure. So if you want to go to TrustedSec's website, TrustedSec.com, you can find out information about all of us. Anybody who wants to reach me, you can hit me up on Twitter. My Twitter name is SecShoggoth, SecShoggoth. Or if you even want to email me, tyler.hudak@TrustedSec.com. I'm more than happy to answer any questions, talk to anybody, things like that.
Awesome. Well, thanks for the great advice, Tyler, and thanks for being on the show.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you for having me.